TJ Gamble here with a new segment I like to call Beer and E-Commerce. And in this segment, I'm going to be doing exactly what it sounds like. I'm going to be drinking beer while talking to you about e-commerce. You may be asking yourself, why beer and e-commerce? And there's two reasons this segment makes a lot of sense to me. One, it gives me a legitimate reason to drink in the office. And if you could tell from my almost empty beer here, this is not the first take of this video. There's some definite incentives to have a few takes just to make sure we get it right. Second, my high school counselor once told me to find the things you're best at in life and pursue those. And I'm sorry to say, Miss East, it took me about 20 years to pull it all together, but drinking beer and talking about e-commerce are what I do best, so why not do them and film it? And so in this segment, we're just going to talk about the latest happenings in the Magento community, kind of a casual format, while I drink some beer. And today, we're going to talk about the latest Magento release that was recently announced, and that is Magento 2.1.8. And this is not a landmark release like 2.2 will be with new features and functions. No, this one's important for a completely different reason. Magento's community has and always will be its strongest asset. There are not a lot of open source projects out there that have the type of community passion and community support that Magento has. And so it was just a few months ago that on Twitter, the community was clamoring about how long it takes for Magento to respond to pull requests and how they weren't real receptive to the community involvement there. And this release is a response to that. And that's one of the things I love the most about Magento as a company, is that they understand the community is important to their ecosystem, is important to the platform, and they listen. It's obvious that Magento has dedicated a lot of resources to increasing how quickly it responds to community contributions to the code. And so this release includes about 100 functional fixes and enhancements. Most of them around large catalogs, performance enhancements around large catalogs. And I'll link wherever I post this video to the release notes so you can get more in depth about what was included in this release. What's of note is that this release includes almost 30 community pull requests. Now, I don't know how Magento defines a functional fix or enhancement, but my assumption is that a pull request, if it is included and merged into the code, would qualify as a functional fix or enhancement. So if that's the case, then it sounds like almost 30% of the fixes or enhancements in this release were community contributed. Now, any clarification around that from Magento is welcomed. But regardless, it's obvious that the community contributed significantly to this release. According to Oleski Korshenko on Twitter, Magento has handled or processed 1,000 community pull requests in 2017. And so I don't know what they mean by processed, but my assumption is it was either rolled into the code in past or upcoming releases like 2.2, or it was discounted or otherwise handled. So regardless, they've interacted with 1,000 community pull requests, which is an astonishing number. And it's obvious that Magento is dedicated to increasing the availability for the community to contribute to the code. Further evidence of that is they have now come out with the Solution Partner Development Contribution Recognition Program. And I'm sure Magento will come up with some sort of acronym we can use for that. If they haven't already. And I don't have great detail as to exactly what that will be, but I'm assuming it's going to be some program similar to Magento Masters that rewards community members that contribute to the core platform. And so that's one thing Magento does well, is recognize the community and to make sure that they understand that they are valued. You can imagine how lonely it is to be working and contributing to the code without any sort of recognition. I mean, you don't work for the company, you don't own a stake in the company, but you're contributing to their success. So it's great to see Magento continue to come up with ways to recognize these individuals and let them know that their contribution has been noted. So it's a great release. It's even though it's not a landmark release, it's signs that Magento is continuing to improve, and I'm excited for what the community may contribute to the platform in the future. Other things of note as of the last week or so, Magento Connect is officially ending on September 15th. So any request to connect is going to be forwarded to the marketplace. Now, I think this is welcome news from just about anyone, but if you happen to be in the market for a shady module that has not been properly vetted, then your window of opportunity is closing and you might want to go ahead and pull the trigger on that. Connect, for those that may not understand, is the old place you would go that was the official Magento location to find and obtain modules. And it was a little bit of the wild, wild west. It was really more beg for forgiveness rather than permission. You just throw your module up there and it's up there until someone complains about it and Magento then does something about it. And so they've moved to the marketplace, and the marketplace has much more stringent requirements, and Magento goes through a much more thorough review for any modules submitted in there. So it's good that a lot of these old modules are just kind of going to die on the vine there. But if you have a lot of modules that have not yet made that transition to marketplace, you might want to go in there and document where those were made so that you know where to go for support if you need them in the future. Also, before this video airs, August 14th, and I'm saying airs like it's some sort of TV show, but before I post this video, they will have Magento 2.2 extensions will be open to the marketplace. So you can submit 2.2 extensions. And 2.2 has a lot of great B2B functionality, but it's kind of middle of the road functionality, I guess you should say. It's kind of functionality that most B2B scenarios are going to need, but there's a lot of opportunity to cater it to particular industries or to take features and functions further than Magento took them. So now's your opportunity if you want to be first to market. Also, recently you saw Mark Lavelle on Bloomberg with an interview about Magento. Thought that was a very interesting interview, and he left them with this mic drop moment here, and I'll quote him. There is probably too many platforms, but on the whole, if you look above that in the upper SMB, mid-enterprise, and larger enterprise markets, what's interesting is that Magento is the only company that focuses purely on e-commerce, ... and I say ... because there's some other stuff in here that I probably could have explained to you in less time than explaining the ... But so if businesses want to have a pure focus on digital and have a company who's purely dedicated to it, interestingly enough, as vibrant as the market is, we're it. So we feel we're pretty well positioned. So that was an interesting quote. You know, a lot of the other players in the enterprise space have been gobbled up by larger corporations or merged into ERP organizations. And so Magento is the only game in town that's servicing those enterprise clients and focused exclusively on e-commerce and delivery. So great interview, great quote. I appreciate you watching the video. If you like these videos, I'm going to pop up the logo here so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. It's pretty much the only feedback we get is subscriptions and comments. So appreciate you watching, and talk to you soon.